So, a couple of things that I will mention before I start this video is that this recording is actually 1 week after the Neon Ninja recording. The reason being is because I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter World Iceborne. I got that for my birthday and it's been very fun. By the way, I turned 25 last Monday on the 23rd of September. So yeah, it's been very fun playing Monster Hunter World Iceborne. I've been enjoying that game way too much, and yeah, I literally just finished the storyline today before doing this recording. Anyways, so this is the Ice Age video. The reason I chose the Ice Age over any other character is that the Ice Age was the most upvoted out of all of the other characters. The Ice Age, I believe, got 5 upvotes on the comment that one that posted it. So I decided to choose the Ice Age. It was kind of difficult because a lot of people wanted to see different characters like Gunslinger, Lunar Lancer, Vanguardian, and Candy Barbarian, and so on and so forth. Like a lot of characters. A lot of people wanted to see a lot of different characters. But I decided to choose the one with the most upvotes, which is the Ice Age. Anyways, the Ice Age is a really good complete class, and it is an amazing all-around class. In my opinion, it might be top 2, top 3 out of all of the characters, like overall effectiveness. Some people might say this is the best character in the entire game, better than even the Revenant. I still choose the Revenant over this character just because the Revenant still is much more forgiving than this character in like certain situations like dungeon grinding, like Shadow Towers. Like Revenant has a lot better survivability, but this character does a lot more damage. Anyway, so enough ramble. I'm just going to start this video. Leave in the comment section down below which character would you like to see in the next episode. And yeah, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another JNMG video. I'm your host JonNario, and today is another Trove End Game, this time featuring the Ice Age. My Ice Age is currently sitting at 31,143 power rank, and you're going to see the stats right now. One thing to keep in mind is going to be the light. I got 4500 light even without maxed out crystal level 3, just with base crystal level 3. That's a lot of light that I'm missing, and yeah, so that's quite a lot. So yeah, that is my stats. My gear is going to be critical damage movements via all pieces of gear. The reason I choose critical damage movements via all pieces of gear, well, I personally like using movements with gear on all characters. I prefer just using over just the mounted cavalry, knight cyclist, and going mount speed. But with this character you can go mount speed if you want, but my recommendation or my choice in terms of dungeon grinding would be attack speed, movement speed. This character doesn't need energy regions, so you can use attack speed, movement speed, and just use basic attack to dish out the most DPS. And when it comes to curse code, you can use ice crash, but still I use critical damage movements with all pieces of gear. It's no biggie. This is my own personal choice. I use magic damage phase, maximum health half, critical hit weapon. The reason I use critical hits 100%, maximum health so I can get more maximum health, and magic damage because extra damage. I will normally use more maximum health, but this character doesn't need a lot more maximum health because the survivability is still decent because of the stun, well, much more like freeze. Stellar 5 Magifying Ring. I don't use energy regen. This character doesn't need any energy regen. I believe this character gains energy regen by level up or by default, and energy regen is not necessary because this character's ice crash doesn't cost a lot of energy to begin with. And Perfect Penguin is the best magic damage ally in the entire game, similar to like Rat the Berserker, gives the same buffs, and the buffs are just too great. Arcane because damage, even though this character doesn't need a lot of damage, like damage increase from Arcane, but still Arcane will help you do one-shots with this character. And yeah, so Arcane, I would prefer just to use Arcane. And Trailblazing, this character doesn't need, like again I said, this character doesn't need survivability like a lot of them, so you don't need unyielding, and you don't need like something like Vampire and Vanquisher just because this character has a lot of stun. This character is incredibly good in terms of like stunning, freezing enemies, and the survivability is still good enough. So I use Trailblazing just because of the extra movement speed. Conjurer's Crucible Vial is my own vial of choice. I use it because I have my Magifying, and the Mounted Cavalry Knight Cyclist just because if I'm not running around with all of the movements we buff like Prefect Penguin and Pyrodis, I don't have Vampire and Vanquisher, but I will be using the Mounted Cavalry just for the heck of it. Why not? Anyways, moving on to my gems. My gems are going to be as follow. Going in power gems first, it's going to be 2-1 magic, 2-1 magic, and 2-1 magic. So 6 magic damage roll, 3 critical damage roll on my empower gems. And my lesser gems are going to be 2-1 magic, 2-1 magic, 2-1 magic, 2-1 magic, 2-1 crit damage, and 2-1 magic. So I have a lot of magic damage roll. Like pretty much all of them are 2 magic damage roll and 1 critical damage roll except one of them. This is like 2 critical damage roll, 1 magic damage roll, And yeah, no particular reason. I can just gem swap with other characters and I can get more critical damage if I want. But you know what, it's best just to keep it like that. It still does well enough. And yeah, so those are my gems. My cosmic gems are just going to be 3 light on 2 of them. So my empower gem and one of my lesser gems are 3 light, and this one is a 2 light 1 magic. So I have pretty much 8 light rolls, and that is more than enough. Again, if you had 2 lights or more with your cosmic gem, it's still good enough, but the best one is 3 light. Anyways, I would recommend you to have the standard speed farming build with empower gems. Just pair this Vampire Vanquisher and class gem. That is the best empower gem combination in my opinion. And in terms of like this one, you can choose whichever you want, because this character again doesn't need anything. You can use something like, I don't know, explosive epilogue, so you can do more burst damage and more crowd control. But this character's crowd control is already like really good. Like generally don't need anything. If you want to use without anything, then just go ahead and use it. And if you're using this character for Shadow Tower, even though I don't talk about Shadow Towers more in this type of series, because this is more for the dungeon grinding instead of like Shadow Tower. So for Shadow Tower you can use Berserk Battler just because of the extra attack speed that you get, but for dungeon grinding, Vampire Vanquisher, pair this and class gem and you will do just fine. And yeah, those are my gems, and let's move on into Uber 10 right now. Alright. So, what do I think of the Ice Asia Endgame? So, this character is kind of No, not really. I'm actually just kidding. No, this character is actually very, very strong. It's very amazing. I pretty much... How many people did I trigger just by saying on the Ice Age? Like, I don't know. Maybe a lot of people already just stop. When I say the a lot of people might say, oh, what do you mean? And already stop the video and start typing the mean comments. I don't know. But this character is actually very, very good. In my opinion, it's top 2 character, like top 2 overall character in the entire game. And honestly, it's actually very, very strong. It is a character with very few weaknesses, and the only weaknesses that this character has, it can already cover itself up. So for example, the basic attack, it is a single target attack. So it doesn't have the best crowd control, but however the Ice Crash has incredible crowd control, so already covers up like the weakness on the basic attack. The character, it is not the best at one-shotting because the highest multiplier is Ice Crash at 6.3, which is still capable of one-shotting certain bosses, but you can actually use the ultimate ability to one-shot everything in the entire game. So it already covers up that weakness. Also, another thing to keep in mind is going to be the DPS. Again, the DPS on the Ice Crash is not the best, but you can use basic attack and again ultimate ability to have incredible high DPS. So all the weaknesses already this character can cover out just by using other abilities. So this is actually a really good character for everything. And this character, another weakness that you could say this character has is going to be like the survivability, which is not the best. But this character already has an ability that already covers up the survivability, which is again the Big Chill. The Big Chill freezes enemy for 3.5 seconds. That's more than enough to actually kill an enemy. So the Big Chill, it is a really good ability. And I would recommend a lot of people to use it, especially if you're battling against bosses. Like for example, if you see a boss right here, you can use the Big Chill and just use Arcane immediately. And you will have 3 seconds of just dealing mass amounts of damage without it taking any damage. So yeah, this character has everything that you want. I don't have to say a lot of things about this character. It's just great. It's just amazing. It doesn't have the best at anything, but it already does everything well. It is a jack of all trades in my opinion, and in my opinion it's one of the best, if not the best overall magic damage in the entire game. Let's start talking about the basic attack. The basic attack does a solid 2.75 times damage, which is high. That is higher than a lot of characters in the entire game. To be precise, this is the 4th highest damage multiplier basic attack in the entire game. That's higher than the Knights, that's higher than the Vanguardian's range mode, that's higher than the Shadowhunter no class gen, that's higher than pretty much every single character that isn't just Revenant, Fate Trickster or Vanguardian melee mode. So it does more damage as a regular basic attack than pretty much all of the other characters. That is one thing that to keep in note. I'm not going to talk about the ultimate ability, I'll leave that towards the end. So you can take that into consideration. Like everything that I will say right here can be increased by a lot just by using the ultimate ability. Anyway, so talking about the basic attack, again, it is a single target attack, so it doesn't have the greatest crowd control out there. you can use the class gem, and the class gem, if you hit an enemy 3 times with your basic, the third basic attack, if it didn't kill, it will have an explosion that does the same damage as Ice Crash, which is this ability. This ability is your main damaging ability. That main damaging ability does 6.3 times damage, and it is pretty good. It actually takes like half a second for the ice to hit the ground, but the ability has a low cooldown of 0.75. So it doesn't even have a 1 second cooldown, so you can spam this ability more than something like Revenant. So you have 2 abilities already. Like the basic attack is already pretty good. The only weakness is being like the no crowd control. But you have the class gen, which already fixes it if you don't kill the enemy within 3 hits. So it's not a big deal, especially if you're in endgame with the Ice Age with max light. You can actually 2-shot enemies with your basic, and that is pretty good. Like 2-shotting enemies with your basic is actually very good. And not to mention, the basic attack also freezes enemies if you have the class gem. If you had the class gem and you hit the enemy with the first basic attack, you will freeze an enemy for 1 second. So that is also another thing to keep in note. Like the basic attack is really good. The only thing that you might say is going to be the crowd control, which is only on the lackluster because it's a single target attack. So now let's start talking about Ice Crash, which is your main damaging ability when it comes to dungeon grinding. Ice Crash is an ability that does 6.3 times damage, which is a pretty, like I will say, is average to above average in terms of multiplier. But then again, it takes 0.5 seconds to hit, and not only that, it takes 0.5 seconds to hit the ground. 0.75 cooldown, like 0.575 seconds of cooldown, and this ability is actually very good because it hits a lot of enemies around you. Like it has really good crowd control. Like the crowd control, it is like the strong suit when it comes to that ability, seeing that it already has pretty high multiplier, and not only that, it also hits all enemies around you. It literally becomes a really good all-around ability on dungeon grinding, because dungeon grinding, you want high damage, and not only high damage, high crowd control. And this character with the Ice Crash already has them both. Now let's start talking about the Big Chill. The Big Chill, it is this ability right here. This ability lasts for 3.5 seconds. If you hit an enemy, you will freeze them for 3.5 seconds. It will start doing tick damage, like I believe it's 0.33 times damage each and every single tick. But the only purpose of that ability is mostly for the freeze. You can just freeze an enemy just still 100%. It's like a stun. It's literally the best stun in the entire game because it literally stuns enemies for 3.5 seconds. It is not capable of perma-stunning because that ability has a 7-second cooldown, but still, you can literally just hit an enemy with that ability and just kill them before the freezes goes away. Like, that is amazing, that is extremely powerful, that is incredibly good. But this ability, not a lot of people tend to use this ability, and I would recommend, if you're using the Ice Age, for those who are just starting the game, to use the Big Chill more often. Like, this ability, use it on cooldown, like on Curse Call, on bosses, on everything. It will help you out a lot in just hitting all enemies. It has incredible crowd control, low cooldown. It's just an all-around great ability. And then you take into consideration the ultimate ability, Frozen Ward. This ultimate ability is how I'm dealing like 65 million damage with these kinds of stats. Like the Ice Age has an ultimate ability which is called Frozen Ward, and this ultimate ability lasts for 5 seconds. When you have the ultimate ability active, you will have an increased 40 base movement speed. If I recall, I will put text on screen. I don't remember the increase in movement speed that you get, but you also get double magic damage. So all of your magic damage is going to be increased by double. So you're going to do double damage whenever you have the ultimate ability, and it does stack with Arcane. So you can stack the ultimate ability on top with the 250% from Arcane, and you can just dish out some ridiculously high damage. So you can see that right now I'm dealing 13 mil damage. That is my base damage when I'm dealing with Ice Crash. That's 13 mil damage. If I use the ultimate ability and if I use Arcane, I'm dealing 65 million damage. That is insanely high. I'm dealing more than 4 times my damage. That is 4.5 times more damage than your regular damage. That is pretty insane. And this is why this is one of the highest DPS in the entire game, just because of the Frozen War ability. The character itself without the ultimate ability has pretty decent DPS, but once you have the ultimate ability, it just does everything so Like the damage is just too high. It's not a bad thing because more damage equals like pretty good. And this character is why a lot of people consider this character to be incredibly good. And one thing to keep in note is going to be, if you include all of that, that ultimate ability also increases your attack speed to the maximum to over 300%. So the ultimate ability, look at how ridiculous the ultimate ability is. It gives you movement speed of around 40 base, which is the same as Dino Tamer ult. It gives you 2 times an increase to your magic damage, and it also gives you max attack speed while you're in the 5-second duration. That is pretty insane looking from just one ability. Granted, it's an ultimate ability, so it is meant to be powerful, but it's so ridiculous if you look at it that way. Like, it is incredibly powerful. Like during those 5 seconds, it's just incredibly powerful. And then one thing that I forgot to mention is going to be this character's momentum. This character actually has one of the better momentum in the entire game, because the basic attack you barely lose any movement speed. I believe, like, let me see how many movement speed you lose. I don't think you lose any movement speed. No, you don't lose any movement speed. So with the basic attack, you don't lose any movement speed, so you're running at the same pace. You can literally just hold down the basic attack without any penalty. So you can just literally hold down the trigger with the basic attack, and you can literally just have the same base movement speed, which is just ridiculous if you think about it. And if you include the ultimate ability, yeah, you're literally a steamroll. That is incredibly good. This is why I recommend using attack speed, movement speed, because you can just do this and just be like, it's so fun. Just hitting all enemies. Like, you can literally just 2-tap enemies, saying that this is a range basic attack. You can literally hit enemy from really far away, and your momentum, you're barely going to lose any momentum. The only thing is that you're only going to do like those 2 taps once you hit like max PR, and once you hit max PR, you're able to 2-tap enemies with your base. So normally you're going to hit an enemy 3 times with your basic before you kill them in U10. So that is a big oof, unfortunately. But still, like, the crowd control, it is incredibly good. Then you include the Ice Crash. Ice Crash, you can literally just throw and forget. It's like the Candy Barbarian's ultimate ability. This is what I like to call the mini Candy Barb ult. It does the exact same thing and it does less damage, but obviously you can spam it. This ability is incredibly fun to use. Ice Crash is one of the better abilities out there. You can literally just run away, just keep running in circles and just keep throwing Ice Crash with this character. And yeah, so just spamming Ice Crash over and over again without barely any movement speed penalty, like, it is incredibly good. And not to mention, this is one of those abilities, if you have high enough light, you can actually one-shot with one of those Ice Crash. So in terms of momentum, that is actually very good, because you can literally just run next to the enemy, just throw an Ice Crash and just keep running. You don't even need to stop to do anything. This is like night type momentum. It is very, very good. It is incredibly good. The momentum in this character is just amazing. It does incredibly high damage. Like, you can literally just do this, just go right next to the enemy, throw Ice Crash, and you will literally have movement speed buff, because again, you will already kill the enemies. Like, if you cannot one shot with Ice Crash, like with my Ice Age, for example, without Arcane, like, if you leave them one shot, you can actually just throw one basic attack in between the Ice Crash. Like, you can just do this. One thing that I always like to do with the Ice Age is going to be a cancel basic attack. You can cancel out Ice Crash with one basic. So if you hold down the trigger with the basic attack, you can just keep spamming Ice Crash and you will throw a basic attack in between each and every single Ice Crash. That will increase your burst damage by quite a lot, because you will be doing the 6.3 times damage from the Ice Crash and the 2.75 from the basic attack. So you will be dealing close to 9 times damage, or even more than 9 times damage, actually 9.05 times damage. It's actually very good. You're able to one-shot a lot of enemies. You're going to deal like close to Revenant type damage, and yeah, that is with incredibly high momentum. I'm not going to explain this character in Shadow Tower, because we already know how good this character in Shadow Tower already is. This actually is one of the better characters out there for everything, any portion of the game. So a lot of people might say that this is better than the Revenant. I still go with the Revenant over this character just because of the insane lifesteal that the Revenant has. But still, the Revenant and Ice Age are just neck and neck. in my opinion, the top 2 best characters in the entire game, because they do everything. They literally just do everything just well. They do Shadow Tower, they do dungeon grinding, they have really good survivability, they are really good at any portion of the game. You can use them with or without Class Gem, but Class Gem is more recommended. You can use it with any type of gear, like if you're going without movement speed gear, you can do so. You can go attack speed, movement speed, you can go crit damage, movement speed, you can go whatever you want, and you can still do just fine. It barely has any weaknesses, it's not slow, it can be pretty fast, it's not the fastest, but it's not the slowest. It literally is a jack of all trades. Like this character and the Revenant are both jack of all trades. And yeah, in my opinion, is one of the best overall characters in the entire game. Might be top 2, maybe even the best to some people. It is, in my opinion, the best magic damage character overall. And yeah, it is an amazing endgame character, and it is a character that I would recommend anyone to start using. If you haven't used the Ice Age, I would recommend you to start using. This is going to be a little fun fact. When the Into the Deep update drops, this is going to be my main Leviathan killing boss. So I will be leveling up my Ice Age just to kill Leviathan. So I will be going max light. I will try to fully augment the Ice Age, just because I want to use this character for Leviathans. I wanted it to be using like Draco instead of using this character, but I will be using this character more so than the Draco, just because the Draco is more close range and I can just shoot from really far away with this character and just keep being more safe. But anyways, I will be doing that 1-star dungeon and call it in a day. I don't need to say a lot of things with this character. This character is an overall beast. It is one of the best characters in the entire game. It is incredibly incredible overall. It does everything just well. It barely has any weaknesses. Good survivability, good damage, good DPS, good crowd control, good everything. Like, amazing character, and in my opinion, it is a character that I would recommend anyone to at least try it out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around as always. Leave a like if you want to help the channel grow. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And that is all for today. Once again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Take care and keep on hunting. And this has been the Ice Age at Endgame. See ya.